At 18:05 on a Wednesday night, one of Lisbon's most beloved landmarks turned into a disaster zone.
We're following breaking news, a tragic accident today in Portugal where officials say 15 people have been killed.
The Gloria Funicular, a national monument since 1885, derailed. At least 15 people were killed and 18 more were injured, with some in serious condition. Among the wounded was a child. Authorities say it is too early to confirm the cause. Local reports suggest a cable may have come loose, but investigators are still sorting through the evidence. This video will take you through the scene itself, the human cost, what officials and press are saying, and what it means for historic transport. If you follow stories like this, hit subscribe. Because this wasn't just an accident of machinery, it was a journey that began like any other, until the familiar whir turned into screams and smoke. The Gloria Funicular was never supposed to be dangerous. It was supposed to be charming, a short 3-minute ride, pulling about 42 passengers at a time up 265 meters of steep hillside. For more than a century, locals and tourists trusted it as a fixture of city life, a postcard memory that always delivered the same steady climb. But on this night, that familiar ritual collapsed in an instant. The carriage that had carried generations overturned near Avenida da Liberdade and Restauradores. Its bright yellow shell crumpled almost beyond recognition. Smoke hung low over the cobblestones. People ran barefoot, dragging bags or holding children in their arms. Videos captured passengers clambering from shattered windows of a car further down the track as bystanders screamed. What was once the background hum of daily Lisbon became a scene of panic, disbelief, and flight. Within minutes, more than 60 emergency workers and around 22 vehicles pushed into the area. Fire crews and paramedics fought through tight streets, setting up impromptu triage on sidewalks usually reserved for tourists taking photos. For responders, it wasn't just a crash, it was a battlefield of twisted wood and steel in the heart of the capital. Sirens, radios, and shouted orders overwhelmed the usual cafe chatter and car horns. And the toll was undeniable. 15 people never made it out alive. 18 were carried to hospitals, some clinging to life. Survivors said the ride felt routine until the last abrupt moment, when something gave way and the sense of control vanished. The betrayal cut deeper because this wasn't some experimental system in the mountains. It was a century-old monument in the middle of a busy city, trusted precisely because of its age and familiarity. That's why the impact stretched beyond the numbers. Lisbon residents saw more than mangled metal. They saw a piece of cultural identity turn against them. A machine once celebrated in guidebooks, painted in souvenirs, and guarded by heritage status became a lethal trap in seconds. What failed wasn't only mechanical, it was symbolic, shattering the idea that tradition guarantees safety. And yet, the real mystery is only beginning. Officially, investigators warn it's too early to confirm the cause. But local press reports suggest the cable may have slipped its grip. That single detail matters, because if one component can undo all the safeguards, then the question is simple. Which version is true? How does a trusted piece of 19th century engineering unravel in seconds? That is the focus of investigators now, as the Gloria's mechanics move from celebrated history to potential culprit. This wasn't just a tourist ride. It was a carefully balanced machine that had worked the same way for generations. The Gloria Funicular runs on a paired system. The two cars are attached to opposite ends of a haulage cable and powered by electric motors. As one descends, its weight helps lift the other, with the motor controlling the speed. On paper, it's efficient and steady. For over a century, this principle carried thousands safely up Lisbon's hillside. Yet history shows that when one element falters, the whole system can unravel. Think of the haulage cable as the single spine of the system. If it fails, the car has nowhere to hold. That's why reports of a cable issue have sharpened attention. Local media reported a cable may have come loose along the track, though authorities emphasize that the cause is still under investigation. The possibility matters because the very feature that makes funiculars elegant, the shared reliance on one line, also becomes a direct vulnerability. When it falters, there is little redundancy left to protect passengers. The seriousness of the inquiry is underscored by who has stepped in. The Judiciary Police's Homicide Brigade is reported to be among the teams investigating, alongside specialists in transport safety. That presence doesn't mean blame is already assigned, but it signals that officials are treating the event not as routine mechanical failure, but as one demanding full scrutiny. For its part, Caris, the municipal operator, said scheduled maintenance had been carried out, and that its teams were on the ground with all means activated during the response. It was a tragedy felt across borders. The crash has already prompted calls to re-examine safety standards on historic lines, with officials saying this will be part of the probe. For those who boarded what should have been a 3-minute ride, a routine trip turned fatal. If this surprised you, let me know in the comments how you think cities should balance history and safety. Don't forget to subscribe,